Hi everybody, Honest John again. Over 9,200 healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, therapists, aides, over 9,200 of them have been infected by the Trump virus. Hundreds have died. And the reason for that is the lack of personal protective equipment. Masks, gowns, face shields, goggles, those kind of things. And this is a problem that continues today. For 2 months now, this has been a problem and no solution has been found. They are reusing masks for weeks at a time that are meant to be used only once and thrown away. At the VA hospitals around the country, some people are getting masks and some people aren't. In a pandemic like this, everybody who works at the hospital should have a mask. Now, we all know, we all remember Donald Trump's initial reaction to the onset of the virus, calling it a hoax, insisting that they have it under control, saying, oh, it's going to disappear, doing everything except taking action. Those were his early failures. But as bad as they are, they may not be as bad as his continuing failures. As the disease rages across the country, instead of forming a partnership with the states, he keeps picking fights with the governors over nothing more than their legitimate requests for help. And they have desperately tried to avoid fighting with him, holding their tongues as he abuses them. As promises are broken and help never arrives. Now, granted, he did send out the hospital ships to New York and to California. And the Army Corps of Engineers has been absolutely spectacular at creating hospital space when it was desperately needed. But in every other way, Trump has failed. A perfect example, he has ridiculed the states for overestimating the number of ventilators that they needed. But what was going on was that hospitals were jerry-rigging ventilators so that one ventilator served 2 patients, which is not the way it's supposed to be done. They've been using machines that weren't designed to be ventilators as ventilators. They've been using these CPAP machines, which are used for sleep apnea. They've been using anesthesia machines as ventilators, which they're not supposed to be. And they've been very, very clever and creative and have saved lives. But we also have to face the fact that a lot of people died who might not have if they'd have gotten the optimal level of care instead of these improvised responses. All of those deaths are on Trump. Now, we may be catching up on the ventilator situation now, but we sure aren't catching up on the protective equipment. We haven't caught up with that need yet. Nowhere near. In fact, the Trump administration has deliberately made the situation worse. Desperate states have taken extraordinary measures to obtain this equipment, sometimes buying them from companies over in China, which the federal government should have been doing instead of them, at inflated prices. But when the equipment arrived, which they had gotten and paid for, FEMA sent in the FBI to confiscate it. And they took it, who knows where, but it left the states desperately short of supplies still, and having spent money that they really don't have. And that's why healthcare providers continue to work without the protection they need. It's why they continue to become ill and die. And every one of those illnesses and deaths is on Trump. Every time Trump has had the chance to help, he has chosen instead to make things worse. He takes delight in watching the states struggle. He brags about all these great things he's done, and then it turns out that he hasn't done them. He complains that he's not being appreciated enough, even though he has given them nothing to appreciate. He's also stood in the way of testing while bragging about how great the tests are. And now he's pushing for states to open up, even though the only way to do it safely is with massive amounts of testing. And he has sent out his mindless minions out onto the streets to protest, knowing full well that they will spread the virus and even die from it. Everything Trump has done has been designed to make this crisis worse. Is it any wonder then that there are more and more Americans becoming suspicious and fearful of Trump's intentions? We know he's not working in our best interests. We know he's not working in the best interests of the nation. Is he trying to create so much chaos that he can declare martial law and set himself up as a dictator? Is he working for Vladimir Putin, who put him in office? Whatever he is up to, it has nothing to do with solving the crisis or making our lives better. Hey, thanks for stopping by and watching my videos. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate your comments and your support. And I don't know where you're watching my videos. Could be here on YouTube or on my blog or on Patreon. Let me just say this. Ever since Google took over YouTube, they've made some really bad decisions that have been very unfriendly to smaller channels like me. I had over 85,000 views of my videos on YouTube, and yet they still won't let me monetize my videos. So if you want to support me, Patreon is the place. But wherever you watch, YouTube, Google, Patreon, my blog, I appreciate your comments and your support, but YouTube sucks.